welcome everyone. Noah here on the Dynamics Weekly newsletter and podcast for the next month. And the past couple of months, I have been interviewing class and session presenters for Community Summit, which is organized by Dynamic Communities and scheduled for October 19th to 23rd in Orlando, Florida. And here it is, the middle of September. So this will be here in no time at all. So if you are making travel arrangements, now is the time to do that. So there's going to be a ton of people down at this conference. Good to see people we've seen in the past and meet new people as well. And as far as meeting new people in the well, today on our 61st interview here, I have John Hinchy with us. John, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Noah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you could join us. You are scheduled to show up in Orlando next month as well. This is your first summit?
It is not. This is my fourth, I believe.
Fourth, awesome. So you've been to Orlando summits before then.
You know what? I kind of been intermittently based on need. So my first one was, I think, 2015 I think that was Nashville. And then I've kind of went like every other year since then. I've moved around. So, different companies kind of choose where to invest their money. And so some people pick community summits. So I've been at some companies that went there and some
Yep.
do the other Microsoft conferences. So it's kind of been in and out. It's nice.
All right, well, good deal. Well, this is the third time that they have had it down in Orlando. It's a great venue, really well laid out, really well planned for everybody. So I'm looking forward to the trip. This will be my third time at Summit in Orlando. But like you, I've been doing summits since they started these, even before it when it was called
Convergence.
Convergence under
Yeah.
Microsoft. So it's been
Heard
quite a while for
stories.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many would
So
that make for you? How many total?
it's well over 10.
Okay.
I'm
There
not
you go.
sure. I guess I should add them up, but it's well over 10.
Okay.
It's been fun,
Yeah.
coast to coast.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you are Crowe and you're based up in Chicago?
That's correct. Yeah, I'm based in Chicago. My family's actually moving to the Cleveland area from Chicago soon, though, but that's beside the point. A little about me.
Okay. Well, hey, more about you the better, because people love to hear and know about the people who are presenting these sessions.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, I was going to say too, you mentioned the venue. The Nashville was at the Gaylord as well, and I'm really excited about this year
Yes.
because I'd been off site in a lot of other summits, and being off site, this is a message to your listeners. Try to book as soon as you can if you're thinking about booking, because I don't even know if you can get into the Gaylord Orlando anymore, but the closer the better, because they're long days, and if you need 10 minutes to go back to your hotel room, you don't want to be a mile and a half off site. So I'm looking forward to being in there. It's my
Yep.
first time actually staying in the Gaylord. They're impressive buildings.
That is awesome. They do the resort there. You walk into the lobby area and registration, you walk past that, and you have that big open atrium with all the waterways and the bridges and the wildlife for the turtles and the alligators. And
Yeah.
then they have that connecting bridge to the back building where most of the sessions are presented. So really well laid out. A
Yeah. It
lot to
feels like
offer.
Biodome, if you've ever seen
Yeah.
that Pauly Shore
Yeah.
movie from the 90s.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you're coming down at least with one other person from Crow, but you do have a booth for Crow in the expo hall, so you'll probably have a whole team there that week.
Yeah, Crow will be we've got a pretty good team. I think 10 to 15 people coming down. My shameless plug for Crow is that we have a group called the Crow Metals Collective, because we have actually built the Crow Metals Accelerator is an add-on to Dynamics F&O, and we've kind of licensed that, partnered with Microsoft. That's where kind of Crow is known for, is the metals partner of the F&O space. And so we actually have a lot of customers come, and we do yearly or bi-yearly releases on it. And so we kind of have people come and ask questions about just this specific Crow Metals product that we have. So we actually this year have a second room to kind of sit, have conversations, and take a load off. So in case anyone's feeling tired during the conference, come have a chat. You'll sit down. We've got a extra room in addition to the booth.
So is that still in the expo hall area?
It is, yeah.
Okay. So I've seen those. They have like a little glass in area, so you can kind of have a little privacy, a little bit more quiet to talk with the different companies there.
Yeah, absolutely. And this year, and I'm curious what you've seen. It's been interesting to see the boosts evolve over the years and see the different amounts of swag and kind of creativity people use to try to draw people in. I've always seen Crow is not a place where partners should really be selling themselves or pitching. They should really just be showing their capabilities because everyone's there for different reasons. It's not always appropriate to try to be looking for new business. It really should be showcasing what your team can do and just making sure the market knows who you are. So this year, we're just trying to show a few different things of how, we've got an emerging AI practice that's really good, and we'll do lunch and learns for people. But we have like a cyber team, power platform team, process improvement. So we just want people to know really what Crow does. I mean, for the longest time, we were known as the metals implementer for the F&O space, and we just do so much more than that. We just want to spread the word about what we do.
Awesome. Well, people will be looking forward to hearing that from you down there. You are a business application strategist with Crowe. Have you been with them for a while?
So this is it's funny. My first day at Crow was the first day of Summit last year in San
Oh,
Antonio.
okay.
Yeah, so I have been with them almost a year previously, and, it's interesting because Crow is a larger partner that I'm used to. I previously worked at Avtex, or now T-Tech Digital, and before that I worked at Power Objects, which is now HCL. But there I've been doing really pre-sales. I love the pre-sales space, getting in and just doing demos of marketing and service, sales, of course. When I kind of started my pre-sales career, the Dynamics marketing tool just came out, and there was so much interest in it. It was really fun giving demos all the time. Prior to that, I had done actually just consulting, normal, CRM implementations. So really nice to kind of see the full gamut of, implementation, design, process improvement, then moving to the pre-sales side. And now at Crow, I'm doing a mix of pre-sales and new business. So as I mentioned, we're known for ERP, but we have a great CRM team, and I think the market just isn't aware of how much CRM work we do. So I'm trying to get, Microsoft's investing so much in the business applications that it's really an exciting time to be there with all the kind of Copilot embedded tools coming out. So I'm really trying to do pre-sales and new business around our CRM team to complement what we already do in the ERP space.
Okay. Awesome there. And you've been to a couple of summits before. Is this your first time presenting a summit?
It is. And
Oh, okay.
I kind of backdoored in because I'm presenting with one of our veterans, Dan Edwards, who's just ERP pre-sales guru. He knows everything about the Dynamics stack, but he's presented 4 or 5 times before. And if I've learned anything, that the summit organizers like consistency and a good experience. So they know Dan has given good talks. So we're doing this one together, and I'm excited to kind of show him some of the CRM best practices I've seen because user adoption around all of these tools is art, not a science, and there's a lot of different
Yes.
ways you can use. So, and but the more I learn about F&O, it's they have a similar almost standpoint from the need to get users on board and trained, but the functionality and even the personalities who use both systems are different. So you have to take that in mind when you're designing a CRM or a Microsoft tool, I'll say.
Yep. And your session is on Tuesday morning, 8:30 that morning. The title of it is Adoption is Everything, Making Dynamics 365 a System Users Actually Want to Use. And that's you and Dan, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited for this
So,
session because I've had these thoughts about how to. This is what any consultant, dynamics consultant, does: is user adoption, stickiness to the system, wanting them to use it. So I've had this thought for a long time. What I've seen at Summit, the good and the bad. I don't mean to talk good or bad about this great conference we're going to, but oftentimes, there's so many sessions to choose from, especially too, probably each hour. What would you say? There's 30 different sessions you could choose from every hour of the day. And so
at
usually
least, yeah.
yeah, I mean, when you're going there, you say, hey, I've got 5 that I'd like to go to at 10 o'clock, but I can only pick one. And I mean, in the first 4 or 5 minutes, if it's going to be a worthwhile session. And I hate that feeling of man, I should have chose the other one. So I'm really trying to think of ways to get this exciting, do it a little different than kind of just the dry talking. One thing I've liked is when people actually open up their screen and get in the system and kind of either share their screen or show screenshots as opposed to talking. But I've seen a lot. You probably sat through a million sessions as well.
Sure.
Any that you like in particular of style of speaking session?
Well, the people who are coming to my sessions, and I deal mainly with financial reporting and budgeting software. So it's very specific, the ones that I present on. So
Yeah.
those people, they know what I'm presenting on. They come from the product. It's mostly accountants that come in and for my presentations. I do a really short intro on the power, a few, just maybe 2 or 3 power slide decks, and then jump into the product.
Yeah, that must be nice to have people. I've seen that a lot. And so is your background more the ERP side?
Well, so I was with Microsoft back in the early 2000s, always handling their financial reporting and budgeting solutions, management reporter, forecaster, FRX, and we still support those products out in the Dynamics community now. So I've had quite a background. That was like I started back with Microsoft back in 2001. So it's just really just flown by for me.
Oh, first year of
Uh,
CRM basically, right? What was that,
yeah,
the
and
3.0
then
or and
I I I, I don't know what year CRM rolled out.
I think the first version was 2001. I mean, I learned on 2011 after, it's funny, everyone has a different introduction into the CRM space because no one really
Yeah.
studied it in college, I'll say, because it didn't exist then. So, but yeah, that my first was 2011, on-prem, of course. Man, management
Uh-huh.
reporter, I haven't heard that word in a while. In my first job at Logan Consulting, they'll be at Summit. Quick shout out to them. I was doing
Hmm.
consulting, and it was mainly a lot of GP work, and support tickets for management reporter were one of my least favorite things to work on, just because
Yes,
and I didn't know it as well coming from the CRM space, but what man, you must have seen the whole evolution of these reporting tools throughout the years because it makes
I
you
have.
thankful
Yeah.
for kind of Power BI and Fabric these days.
So yes, I've been for the evolution of management reporter from the GP days when it was and AX days when it was such a huge problem with their data mart and all the data they always had to uh, delete the database and
Data
rebuild it,
mart.
and then
Oh,
IT
horrible.
people just loved it.
Yeah.
It's gotten a
Uh,
lot more stable now, and GP people are using it all the time. The new version in F&O is really the same product, almost identical, just dropping the name and carrying it forward. So, and then BC, no management reporter. They have some reporting in there, which we work with as well. But we've developed our own software for replacing these legacy products, Prospero, and we push that as well for a solution.
that's
It's been an
interesting.
exciting time, exciting career path.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well,
So,
hey, I put together a couple short ideas and tips just for your audience about what I see in design. And I'm curious, I'd be curious to get your thoughts. So here, I'm going to go over a few points. The main
okay.
one, and I'm kind of speculating the preview for the session, but my main topic and point is actually starting from the top, there's two pieces to understand. There's the people side and the design side. And I go back and forth about which side is more important because, you know, when you're training on CRM, you only know what you know, and you're so used to doing it 100 times that you really have to step outside yourself and think, what does this user want? You know, they want it easy and simple, but you really can't assume that you think they'll work the same way as you or understand things the same way as you. So, one of
True.
the things I like to do is, it's interesting. It's like the more tedious and difficult it is almost like the juice is worth the squeeze mentality of like, I found before that when you're training, sometimes you actually have to go stand over someone's shoulder and be like, qualify this lead and I'll just sit behind you and watch you do it to make sure you know where to click and how. The even some
Sure.
of the
Yeah.
basics of the lead to opportunity management process is like hey, I've talked to people who've been using the system for a few years and they don't, know the kind of simple, and I say simple only because I know it, ins and outs of when you qualify a new lead, it's going to create an account, it's going to create a contact, and it's going to create an opportunity unless you designate that account and contact is in your system. And it's like a core tenant, but I would say, I mean, I'll make it up. 60% of the people don't really understand the process. They've got the tool, they go in and they start clicking and they just do things the way they do. And
True.
poor design versus bad training is like it's rogue in the system. And I feel like sometimes as consultants, we say, hey, we did the training session, now we're done, without kind of validating, like, hey, why don't we watch you from start to finish so I can say you know how to click? Because it's kind of that personality of you don't know when people turn off or turn on. And so
Yes.
I thought that was interesting. But any thoughts from your end you've seen on that?
Training users, you can never really judge a person by the looks. You don't have an idea about their acceptance of technology, their how quickly they know where to move and click and everything, and how they absorb all that. They need that basic training course to get them started, exposed to these different topics. But by the time it's all said and done, you design the system and everything. The simpler for those users, the better. So, I try to learn what they need for their job and make it as few clicks as possible to get that done. They don't care about
Yeah.
all the bells and whistles that they don't need. They just care about their roles. So the fewer and easier for them, the better.
It's so funny you say that because it's almost counterintuitive for me coming from a pre-sales background is when we demo, we want to turn everything on. It's like turn on opportunity
Yeah.
scoring, turn on Copilot, turn on Dynamics for
When you're
Outlook.
demoing,
Like,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And so you think when you see a user like, hey, they want all this stuff. I actually was working with some friends recently that I'm helping them set up their CM for their business. And they said, I just want it simple. I want to see it real easy. And so I started turning things off and removing fields like facts and like,
Hmm.
certain fields that they don't need. And so we went through probably 3 or 4 iterations where I removed a few fields. The opportunity screen has all those extra fields you don't really need. So I removed
Hmm.
some and like it's not enough. It's cluttered. I don't want to see all this stuff. Went through another one. Like, no, it's still too cluttered. And, it's a perfect learning moment for me of like, don't assume that just because this is the way it's set up, that they're going to like it or that you think it's not too cluttered. Because, my first initial human reaction was to say, get over it. It's not that cluttered. Like, just fill in the fields that are required and move on. But what I ended up having to do and where we finally got to was I basically took I'll start with the lead form. I took the lead form and added a new tab and got rid of all the others and just started as a 2-column tab. Like, so instead of 3, do 2 columns. I
Hmm.
put the demographic data, lead name, kind of the first few fields at the top, and then all their specific data, they Excel medical equipment. So they've got a few, 4 or 5 fields that they need to capture, like what's the device and what's the size, things like that. So put those all on the left side. And then on the right side, I broke out the notes from the timeline and just put right at the top just the note section and even turned, how in CRM you have to put a title on your note and then you put the
Hmm.
body and you click it. You can turn off the title even. So I made it where it's like the fields I need on the left, the notes section on the right without even a title. So you can just go in there and leave a note. And it's so funny because they told me like they were coming from Zendesk. They were using a free version of Zendesk. And to their credit, Zendesk is not created in 2001. It's created in the last few years where people are using the newest UI and it's not built on
Hmm.
legacy code. And I mean, you see that now with new technology where you can see Salesforce the same issue where it's like, oh yeah, you can tell this is a 20-year-old thing. They've modernized it through the years, but it's not as kind of like web designed as some of the newer tools these days, like a Zendesk, where it's very quick, web friendly.
Hmm.
And they said, hey, shouldn't this just be, I mean, it's a CRM. Shouldn't it just be, I open it up, I see all my notes, I see the quick fields, and that's it. And it's like, he's right. He was totally right about it. So we made it where the form is note, note, note. Like, you come in, you open the form, and you can just see the last couple notes that people left. And what I actually did there was put the timeline under it and broke the notes out of that. So, it's funny when you actually dig into some of these screens, you can see how much functionality there is to really mess with the design now. They've added a lot over the years to really get it as kind of specific as you want to. And so we've got the notes and the timeline, and it was almost, I had to turn off even the Copilot summary, and even that was like I didn't want to do it. It's like, no, how could this be a bad thing? It's just summarizing, but they didn't want that, and so basically putting it down, it really was a good moment for me to say, like, this is a blank canvas. Let them design it their own way, and don't assume that this. And now that I did it, that was like, I like this design. So,
Yep.
it was interesting.
And will you cover that during your presentation at Summit?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Is it
I'm gonna
great?
put that in.
That's a great thing to discuss during that. Let people ask you questions about it. I think they'll be very responsive to that type of approach.
It's funny. I've never seen a screen design that way. It's like they're always kind of the same, but again, I only know what I know. So, another thing too that's really, and I'd be curious your thoughts on this as well. I had to look out before this, like, what is the typical amount of information that like human psychology wants us to put in before we just kind of give up? And I always kind of give it that like 50-50 mark of, listen, if it's three or four too many fields, people are just not going to use it. But if it's the right amount of fields, they'll use it 100% all the time, no problem. So it's like there's almost this tipping point where it's like, hey, if people log in, they see these 5 things they have to enter, psychologically they're fine. If they see 8, they might just be like, I'll just put it in my Outlook and move on. So the correct amount of fields for us to enter is like 5 to 7, which seems low, right? I mean, that's not a lot. Usually there's a lot more data points than that. So
Well, I
what
agree. On
we,
our, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say what we we're going to do then is breaking it up into like different components. And I think the best way to do that is the business process flow and just kind of breaking out like 4 or 5 in those. I think training on that would be a lot better than having a lot of fields under. But it's funny, actually, I saw that there's a new design element that's almost like a business process flow, but a card that lets you move on. I haven't messed with it too much, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on your side about how to design, or just personally how you like to see some of the forms you fill out?
So I tell you, on our CRM, I can see a lot of the legacy fields that I don't think that I have ever touched, but they
Hmm.
still show up. They're still there. Uh,
Always.
so yeah, getting rid of a lot of clutter stuff, I would love to do it, and I could probably do it. I just haven't even taken the time to do that process of removing clutter fields.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
so
I think
yeah,
that's
I'm
a
all
good part
for
of,
the fewer.
and I think that's a good part of design. Yeah, and it's funny because it's almost like low-hanging fruit that we all forget to do, which is like just go in there and remove everything you need to. It's counterintuitive because like even me, I'm like, well, what if we do need it? But man, Microsoft is so configurable that you can just add it back. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, So that's a big topic I'd like to talk about as well.
this topic that you're covering for this session, I'm surprised you don't have it as a class at Summit.
Yeah, yeah, I guess we could. I'm trying to ease in as my first speaking engagement. Hey, before we finish, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yep.
Um, I think that, they talk about gamification all the time, and there even used to be like a module for it, but there's no real good way to do it. And it's one of those things that I like to bring up for my speaking, I guess my talk track, but th I haven't ever found a really good way to do it, or even a good way to do it. We've added things like count fields and roll up fields to kind of see like, hey, I can see revenue roll up, or I can see total counts of opportunities. If you have a good pipeline, that's almost like a gamification where it's like, hey, visually I can see it. But I think adding something in like, and we've done leaderboards and users with the most activities and phone calls, but even that isn't kind of it making it fun. Have you ever used like, hey, competitive or gamification or anything to make users want to use your system more?
I can't. I don't have anything to apply off the top of my head, but I will certainly have to dive into that now and and think about the topic. So yeah, I
Yeah.
we are, business approaches for all this stuff is constantly changing, especially now with the latest economic environment that we're going through. We're constantly changing our approach to all that stuff. So gamification, which is a term that I haven't really approached or used in our work, I'll look into now, definitely after this call, even.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me know if you find a good way to do it because that's still something I'd like to solve for. Anytime you have like 10 users and they can kind of compete against each other, or at least see, yeah, you know what it is? It's a very human, like people want to see progress. And so
Yep.
actually I was talking to Microsoft yesterday about we've got a really capable AI team, which is great. I'm sure everyone says that, but Crows, we've built some agents. We have a few agents out on the app source, mainly our AI lease agent, which like automates leases. It's really cool. But Microsoft was talking about building in a ROI calculator, and they've already got it ready, but it's a component you can add to your agent, which actually shows cost savings like in real time. So it's say like, hey, you've processed, let's say 50 leases. Here's the amount of hours you've saved manually by using this agent. And it can kind of like
Mhm.
tally as you go. And one, it kind of justifies the cost of the agent runs, but two, justifies the investment in the actual agent itself. So, we didn't even get into the whole AI topic, but I thought that was interesting. They added that in because kind of leads to the gamification part as well.
Well, hey, using the ROI agent stuff would be a huge improvement over what we used to do in like 20 years ago, where it's all done in Excel spreadsheets or Word documents to pull all that
Mhm.
stuff together. So agents are a whole new feature that I'm just lately starting to dive into, loving it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great.
Well, hey, John, I really appreciate your time today. Awesome topic you're going to cover. That's on Tuesday, 8:30 in the morning. Adoption is everything, making Dynamics 365 a system users actually want to use. You got the booth time at booth number 1314, which is pretty much right in the middle of the expo hall, and you'll be there probably all week.
Yeah, we'll be there all week. Come stop by,
And
take a load off. We'll have some cool. Oh, we'll have custom luggage tags is our creative swag this year. So, hey, everyone's got to fly
okay,
back. Come get a luggage tag. Make sure you don't lose your luggage on the flight home.
all
We'll
right,
put your name
awesome.
on it.
Well, hey, thanks so much. We will look for you down in Orlando. And that's just about a month away. So hey, we'll see you down there.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to meet in person when I'm there. I'll come find you.
All right, thanks, John.
Thanks, Don.